Are you tired of overpaying for your gold, silver, and platinum bullion coins and bars? Then visit sdbullion.com today. SD Bullion was recently named the 177th fastest growing company in the United States by Inc. magazine. This is because they offer the absolute lowest prices in the industry and follow up with over-the-top customer service. So what are you waiting for? Go to sdbullion.com today and join more than 60,000 happy investors that save money on every precious metals purchase they make.
Hey friends, before we begin, this interview with Bix is brought to you by our friends at Virtual Shield VPN. Get serious about protecting your information, location, and search history from big data internet providers who document your activity and seek to sell your information. Use Virtual Shield and check out IdentiSafe, a new feature that includes microphone and webcam blocker and automatically deletes your browser history, cookies, and can even shred files, making them unrecoverable. And use the link below to save 20% off your first term. So this Christmas, get Virtual Shield and give the gift of internet privacy and security. Boy, yeah, I'll tell you what, you should have been privy to the conversation Bix and I just had prior to launching the official discussion here. We're going to talk about cryptos and gold and silver and real money. For those of you who are anti-crypto, please don't give this a thumbs down. Let's approach the conversation with an open mind. I'll play devil's advocate to a number of Bix's points, and he will do the same with mine. And we shall have an honest conversation about the future of money. Bix is on the line right now. How are you, Bix?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. So
I'm in celebratory mode right now.
Yeah, nice hat. Nice hat. Well,
it's the only gold I own is this gold hat.
So Bitcoin is at a market cap today of $291 billion. And Ethereum, I've never seen anything like it. I told people to dip a foot in the pool back this last summer. Ethereum's at 613 as we speak. Litecoin is up to 332 per coin. You've been stomping your feet telling people to buy Litecoin since it was down around 100, probably 50. I'll tell you what, people are missing the train on this thing. And I did a video here. I did an interview about Hive blockchain. And let me just read you a couple of the comments people left, Bix. Malibu writes, "It's the beast system." Troy writes, "Hell no to cryptos. You're being played." Dan Payne writes, "Backdoors are in on all crypto blockchains." I'll tell you what, there is a cognitive dissonance preventing many people in the gold and silver camp from even dipping a foot in the pool, Bix. And meanwhile, the freight train is running down the tracks.
Yeah, definitely. It took me a while to get intellectual understanding of what the cryptos are. And in the beginning, I keep kicking, everybody kicks themselves for not getting in earlier. I heard about it when it was like $10. But it wasn't ready. There was so many issues it had back then. It is not the cryptos today are not the same cryptos of 2009, 2010. You couldn't even buy them. You had to mine them back then. There weren't any exchanges to buy cryptos. So many things have changed. And in a great way to look at it is what Cliff High says, is that it's anti-fragile. Every time a cryptocurrency or a system breaks in the cryptocurrencies, it's fixed, and then that problem doesn't happen again. So there's been so many problems and issues, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger over time. And it should be clear to everybody now that the cryptos are here to stay. The blockchain technology, open source technology, no such thing as a backdoor in open source technology. It's open source, meaning everybody can read the code. If there's a backdoor, it's in that code. So, I mean, there's nothing really anybody can argue anymore. And I would just ask all my gold and silver buddies who have not invested in any of the cryptos. I would say, hey, like Sean says, just dip a toe, buy your first Litecoin. Litecoin's, I believe, the number one most undervalued of all the cryptos right now because I see it as a means of exchange, and Bitcoin kind of screwed the pooch on that. They locked it up. It's too expensive. It's too slow. Charlie Lee of Litecoin, all he's doing is making it faster and cheaper. And he's also adding all kinds of features. You're going to be able to do smart contracts on Litecoin, on the Litecoin blockchain. So exciting. So yeah, Litecoin at $300 is massively undervalued. I'd say Litecoin at $1,000 is massively undervalued, even for today. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, but there's so much divisiveness in our former space here, the gold and silver space. I'm going to cite some of those examples in a second. I'm also going to play a clip from Catherine Austin Fitts, who believes bitcoins and cryptos are a government op or a deep state operation. So just want to get your opinion on that. But I agree with you about Litecoin. It's faster, and at least up to this point, when the price was cheaper, it was probably a better means of transacting. Bitcoin appears to be a form of wealth preservation, or at least speculation that allows you to grow your wealth more than it is a means for exchange at this point, right, Bix?
That's exactly what the core developers wanted. That was the whole fight. And the interesting thing to me is that was when I opened my eyes to the other altcoins and the tokens that are being built around businesses. And it really did wake me up to Bitcoin might have been the first, might have been the invention, but there's plenty of better places to put your money than in Bitcoin, in the crypto sphere. And there's no doubt in my mind that the whole world will be going crypto within the next 2 or 3 years. So, why not get in before your neighbor does? And obviously, it's paid off for the people who follow the road to Ruta stuff. And there's just nothing really that can get in the way anymore. Humanity has taken charge of their own destiny. And we're removing the monetary system, that thing that we hate. Gold and silver bugs hate the government, hate the crypto or the unbacked fiat system, hate the Federal Reserve, but they don't have a solution. And the crypto people came out with, hey, I have a new solution here. It's trustworthy. It's limited supply, all these different things that make good money. And you can build an economy around it. And you can build businesses using the blockchain. So, yeah, the cryptos are a solution, whereas gold and silver was a preservation of your wealth.
I think that people who just entirely dismiss this crypto story as being the beast system are painting with far too wide a brush, Bix. And one of the points I want to make is that whether or not we can agree, any of us, on what the source is of Bitcoin, some, like Dave Kranzler, believe the NSA was behind it. I think you believe Satoshi was actually Alan Greenspan. We can have that conversation. But regardless of whoever was behind Bitcoin, if it's a conspiracy or not, the fact is that this crypto space has spawned, because of a free market action in play here, some very good companies with very good ideas. And I'll cite just a couple. We have Dan Larimer, the brains behind Steam, now working on the EOS project. Now, when I started talking about EOS, it was around $1. It's now around $5.50. And Dan is potentially creating an Ethereum killer, or so we're led to believe.
That's what Berwick said. Jeff Berwick called it the Ethereum killer in the beginning. So
right.
I don't think it's an Ethereum killer.
Well, one of the things I've learned here about Ethereum, and I own some Ethereum, is that the Ethereum chain, the Ethereum network, is being absolutely clogged down by this kitty cat game that people are playing or whatever. So apparently EOS has the ability to do, I think it's 50,000 transactions per second or something. It's a far better method apparently of transactions than Ethereum. We'll see how that plays out. But my point is that we have Cliff saying OMG is going to go to the moon. Salt has done very well. There are companies that have been spawned that are outside of the beast system, I would argue. So I think to paint the whole crypto space as, it's the beast system, is disallowing yourself from doing research that may lead to you creating wealth for you and your progeny. And I just think it needs to be said. Your thoughts?
Well, you know that I've gone for a long time saying there's good guys and bad guys out there. Within the government, within the Fed, I've tried to prove it time and time again. Whether or not it's true, is Trump working with the good guys? I believe so. I think a lot of these things that are going on in government, this is good guys taking out the bad guys. And it's going on behind the scenes with the monetary system too. And I get how everybody says, everything's evil about the Federal Reserve System. Everything's evil in the banking system. I would argue that there are people within the Fed, within the U.S. Treasury, who are working to try to make this transition easier than just crashing the system. The entire problem for the last 100 years is, how do you go from this controlled system of unbacked fiat money controlled by banksters and the Treasury and all these people who supposedly have the worst intent for humanity? How do you get out of that system into something new? And every time we've tried to do it over the past 100 years, The problem has always been how many people are going to die if we just crash the old system and go back to gold and silver. The bankers own all the gold and silver anyway. You look at JP Morgan with 650 million ounces of silver. Why would we want to go back to gold and silver standard if they still control the gold and silver? So that was always the problem, and that was the reason it was allowed to go on and on and on. The transfer from the old system to the new system was going to be deadly for millions, if not billions of people, because we live in a just-in-time delivery system. Then we have this thing invented. The starting invention of cryptocurrencies is, yes, it's back in the 70s and 80s. It was the original, the NSA and the CIA, and Alan Greenspan was involved because he's a computer expert who invented the monetary system. He blamed himself for the Y2K problem. He only programmed 2 digits instead of 4. So yes, they were all involved in the beginnings of what ultimately became Bitcoin. But the question is, were they out to destroy humanity? They already control humanity 100%. Why would they introduce something that humanity could use as a tool to get rid of them unless there was something else going on? There is a fight to take back our system. And if you look at the timing of when Greenspan came out of the Fed and when Satoshi supposedly started working on Bitcoin in 2007, it lines up perfectly. I'm not saying it was just Greenspan inventing Bitcoin. I think it was a whole group of people. And many times Satoshi uses the word we, as in, we were working on this. So it was definitely a group of people. Was Greenspan involved? I would say that was his job since Arthur Burns put him at the head of the Council of Economic Advisors for Nixon or Ford back in the early 70s. The idea was, if we can control the monetary system for longer, we can suck out more benefits. Well, that all fell apart with 9/11. They said, screw this, these bankers are so bad, we're going to take them out. And that's what's going on right now.
All righty. Well, let's talk here a little bit about Catherine Austin Fitts. I'm going to play a clip for you in a minute, but first I just want to say she does note the hyperinflation problem in the system. She says, her thesis is, it's been solved for now by the flows of cash into cryptos. I'm not sure if you can really make that argument, 100%, since we're only talking about a entire, I think, top 100 cryptos market cap of around 500 billion. We're talking about trillions of dollars that have been printed by these central banks. But her thesis is interesting, and she says, meanwhile, the central banks seek gold. The central banks are moving towards gold. We can have that conversation in a second. But I want to just say this as it relates to the divisiveness in our space, and I'm going to cite 2 examples. We have Chris Duane on one hand and Andy Hoffman on the other. Chris Duane from day one was anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin, don't go anywhere near it. And being entrenched in that belief system has certainly cost him the opportunity to make money. But meanwhile, he says anybody who got into the cryptos has, quote unquote, sold their soul. I don't think that's fair. On the other hand, we have Andy Hoffman, who came out in the late fall, early winter and said he sold all his silver back in the summer and didn't tell anybody about it. And now he's just solely on the Bitcoin gold bandwagon. Meanwhile, you don't think gold is going to return to a monetary asset. It's like none of you guys agree on any of it, except, well, I guess I'd say you and Andy agree on the Bitcoin part. So your thoughts on why is it so damn divisive?
I actually don't own much Bitcoin at all, truthfully. I left the Bitcoin. See, that's the key to a lot of these guys. They learn something and they refuse to keep their eyes open that things might change. And like with Bitcoin, yeah, I got rid of my Bitcoin back when all the fighting was going on. I said, why? I don't even need to have Bitcoin. There's all these other cryptocurrencies that are doing much more interesting things than just, hoarding wealth. But the divisiveness between everybody is, I don't know. I think it's an unwillingness to question your understanding of everything, question your belief system, the unwillingness to change, even though all the signs around you say the world is changing. Absolutely. Gold was money for 5,000 years. No, it wasn't. It was money for 4,950 years and stopped being money in 1971 when nobody in the world was on the gold standard. And now, yes, I agree with Catherine that all the bankers are hoarding gold, but what good is it going to do them? If the gold is not useful as, other than sticking it in a vault, what are you going to do with it? And the world, the humanity, people have said, hey, we've got these cryptocurrencies. that we can use as kind of a form of barter in some instances. Businesses that use tokens, it's really like a form of barter. It's really cool because every monetary historian in the world will tell you, well, the best form of exchange is barter. But since a home builder can't barter with a bread maker, we have to have money. Well, that's not necessarily true anymore. With tokenization, you could have a home builder, tokenizes a house and exchanges it with a little with the bread maker, all this stuff can go together, and it's humanity breaking free from the old paradigm that really didn't work. Gold and silver were not able to take down the banks in over 100 years, and the cryptos looks like it's going to take maybe 10 years for the banking system to go away. And we don't need it. We really don't. You can be your own bank now.
Well, guys, my thesis, and Bix, you know this from day one here on the cryptos, has been I'm trying to keep an open mind because, I have a heck of a lot of questions about the world we live in, and I don't profess to have all of the answers. So I always try to put my hubris and my ego aside, and that's what I've done with the cryptos. I mean, look, I think we know who these Illuminati families are. We certainly know who are the brain children behind the central banks and the Federal Reserve in our own country, and we are keeping an eye on the 1988 cover of The Economist magazine, which predicted in 2018 the Phoenix, literally, that was the new world currency. I read the article, and they say get ready for the Phoenix, and when it comes, be grateful. That's how the article concludes.
You see the zero with the line through it,
right,
on the coin?
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a program, digital computer program. That's how they do the zeros, the zero with the line, so it doesn't get mixed up with an O. I think that symbol has been around for so long. I mean, I have seen. I don't know if you've seen the 1933 gold bars. It's these bars that talk of a $300 million gold loan from the U.S. and China. But on these bars, there's like 8 of them. It's one of the top 10 cryptographic unsolved mysteries. On these bars, there's some cryptographic stuff, some Chinese writing, some U.S. writing. But there's also pictures of the Grand Canyon in there and the zero with the line through it. And this symbol has been around for a very long time. And whether it has to do with the new electronic monetary system potentially that is going to save humanity, not enslave humanity, I don't know. But it's just the coincidence is unbelievable that you have something like that 1988 magazine, and then here we are approaching 2018 with the old banking system ready to collapse any moment with a derivative meltdown and a new system being born right next to it that is basically humanity is in charge of its own future. So I'm excited about it.
Well, we shall see. And I know that many of the listeners are worried that the whole 1988 Economist cover prediction suggested that what we're going through now is exactly what they wanted. So I'll play this clip from Catherine Austin Fitts here in just 1 second because I think she may agree with that thesis. So in the interest of just putting all the cards on the table, guys, again, I don't have all the answers. I just know that if you closed your mind to the crypto story back this past summer or before when I advised everybody to dip a foot in the pool, and believe me, I was late. I was late to finally come around to that idea.
You're early.
You're right. And Cliff has said in an interview, even with me, anybody who is getting in now is even an early adopter. Because again, most of our friends, neighbors, and colleagues don't know maybe they've heard of Bitcoin, but they haven't heard of any of the others. So that needs to be said. I also want to say that if anybody really wants to get some good, fair-minded information on this space, I'm going to name just a few channels that I like. My buddy Nick over at Truth Blitz Media does a nice job. And by the way, if you want to get into any altcoins and you don't know how to do it, he will coach you up or help you do it. He's a great guy. Crypto Blood has a great channel, very balanced. I like his commentary. Ivan on Tech. There's so many people doing great commentary on individual cryptocurrencies and the overall crypto story. Bix, do you have any favorite channels that you like to tune into for crypto news?
I like Crypto with a Zero. I think his name's Omar. Awesome. Understands the cryptos like you wouldn't believe. For comedy, I turn in JSnip4. He cracks me up daily. Anything Cliff High says, writes, or does, or has a comment on is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I mean, he's the guy who really got me to think differently about the cryptocurrencies and the potential for humanity to really finally break away from these banksters. And it's all right there for us. So, yeah, but it is an education thing. You do need to educate yourself about how to use it, how to go about. It's getting easier and easier now, but it's still difficult for most people. But definitely go on YouTube and just search for any topic you want on any kind of cryptocurrency, why it works. There's so many. Oh, Andreas Antonopoulos. You got to listen to Andreas Antonopoulos every time he posts something. The guy is brilliant for the overall macro picture as well as the technical understanding of what is going on, why these cryptocurrencies work so well. So yeah, those are the guys I listen to.
Well, I'd also add to that Trace Meyer. He's
yeah.
early adopter of Bitcoin, and I just listened to a great interview with him on Crush the Street. And of course, yes, Cliff, that goes without saying. Cliff, look, hats off to Cliff, because there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, Cliff, hi, that's snake oil. He's a snake oil salesman. No, he was giving us pertinent information that led many of us to make investment decisions that have paid off. And by the way, investments we've held on to despite the ups and the downs. You have your HODL shirt, right? Hold on for dear life. Because, yes, I've lived through 20, 30, 40% corrections in some of these coins, but they continue to return to all-time highs. And I don't think I'd have been able to hang on had it not been for Cliff and the WebBot data giving me actionable information. So hats off to Cliff, and it needs to be said.
Right. You would have sold and got back. I sold and got back in the Mount Gox thing. I thought, oh, it's over. You know, I sold everything I had, and then I had to get back in. I'm like, damn. And then I made that conscious choice. I'm not going to sell. If I believe in my understanding of what's happening, I continue to study this stuff, and I continue to learn about the new things, new companies being invented, then I will gain confidence that I can hold on pretty much forever. And it has absolutely paid off. And I'm grateful to Cliff for helping me understand that this is a new system being set up right next to the old system, and everything, all the value and money in the old system is going to flow into the blockchain system. So whether you believe it or not, it's happening as we speak, and it's the very early days. So you're not too late to get in. So yeah, I'd say just take time and go to YouTube, and there's so many great YouTube teaching channels and things you can learn. Just type in any question you have in the cryptos, because it's very technological savvy environment, and the people and the community is very willing to help you for free. So go check it out and learn this stuff, because it's not going away. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not just the value of the coins. It's these companies and businesses that are creating new ways to do business without governments. And that's the amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, and this isn't investment advice. This is just an honest conversation. I would say everybody listening, do your own due diligence. And when we say dip a foot in the pool, it doesn't mean take out a second mortgage. It literally means take some of your expendable income and maybe throw $100 at something on Coinbase. You have to be sensible about this at this point, guys, because I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to see anybody get hurt by this space, Bix, but for anybody who's missed out on it and closed their mind, they've already been hurt because they didn't take the actionable advice when they could. When Litecoin was $21 on Coinbase, now you can't buy one for less than $300. So that's the problem. People are starting to miss the train here.
I think they're not going to miss the train. Train hasn't taken off from the station. We got decades of this. So it all depends on how fast the old system dies. That's going to be the real rush into the cryptos when the banks start trembling again like they did in 2008. You're going to see the mad dash of every single asset try to get over into the crypto world, and the implementation of peer-to-peer transactions, like with Veritasium coming into the COMEX and the LBMA and the New York Stock Exchange. That's going to happen. That's the wave of the future, because it's an honest system, and it'll get rid of these criminals that run our system today. So yeah, it's very early, and if you're hearing this for the first time and you still haven't bought any cryptos, just go to Coinbase, set up an account. They're hard to deal with. They're easier than they used to be. They're hard to deal with. It's going to be confusing, but if you can open a web browser, you can buy your first cryptos. And then from there, it's an exciting journey and something you can learn from, and so many smart people in the sector now, and so many more coming. That's the amazing thing. It's a great thing. And I think all the gold and silver bugs, I'd say hang on to your silver with both fists. Gold will be around for a long time. And I just think there's way too much of it than the gold bugs say there is. I've read Gold Warriors, the Peggy and Sterling Seagrave book. It says there's 300,000 tons of gold just in Asia. So yeah, it's one of those things. The gold bugs and the silver bugs, the hardliners will stay where they are. I think silver is still massively undervalued, but I also know it's rigged 100% every trade. I've proven that years ago, and that's mainly why I was looking for something else to invest in. Who wants to invest in a rigged market?
Well, you know what? I just bought some more silver the other day. I do want to say that, and I meant to say it earlier. I've not sold any of my silver or any of my gold. It's part of my overall portfolio. That's what I said when I started to say dip a foot in the pool with the cryptos. It's just that the cryptos have gone up in value so much, I'll need to rebalance that portfolio at some point in the near future. But I continue to hold my physical silver and physical gold as a hedge against an economic tsunami, which you and I both know at some point is coming. Now, we're going to finish out this conversation with a soundbite from Catherine Austin Fitts, and we're going to just play devil's advocate again here with that. But before we do that, last question, Bix, before we go to Catherine. Bitcoin futures. Are you surprised? I'm a little surprised that these guys have not been able to destroy Bitcoin. I know that's what they wanted to do. I was following closely the tweets coming from Citron Research, which went short GBTC right before, the week before the Bitcoin futures launched, and their whole thesis was they're going to bring it down. And they haven't been able to, and you know what? Again, hats off to Cliff, who said the Bitcoin futures operation they were going to screw the pooch. It wasn't going to work, and if anything, it would send Bitcoin higher. Are you surprised by this Bitcoin futures debacle so far?
No, but also I don't invest in any derivatives. So anything stock exchange related or CME related the CME futures have not started yet. Those start on the 18th. It's the Globex, the smaller market. But do I think it will make a difference in the long run? I don't know, and I don't care because I truthfully I'm mostly out of Bitcoin. But I think the banksters like it, and you might see a situation where there's hundreds of exchanges trading Bitcoin, all in $20,000-$30,000, and then you have the CME trading at like $5,000. It doesn't really matter. It's one of those things that they can go long the real Bitcoin, physical Bitcoin, and then they can short and hedge their position, so to speak. All that's going to do is add more and more pricing, more and more money to Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin. And yeah, you can short the derivative if you want to play that game, but that's their game. It's not settled in Bitcoin. It's just a side bet. And can they control the market? They control the market in silver and gold easily because those are the only two markets. The LBMA and the CME are pretty much the only two markets, and it's all derivatives. So there is no physical market for silver out there. Maybe in Asia there's a physical market for gold, but there is no physical silver exchange, and it's all derivatives. So it's very different with Bitcoin. There's hundreds of exchanges around the world, and a lot of them deal in pools, which is a Bitcoin derivative as well. Coinbase, you buy on Coinbase, that's a derivative because you don't have the Bitcoin in your own possession. And they deal in pools with Kraken, and all the exchanges deal in pools, meaning that those aren't on-chain exchanges. It's just like gold and silver. You got to get your Bitcoin and your cryptocurrencies in your own possession. Yep. Or any kind of collapse, it's going to all fall apart.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to say that too, because one of the comments in my Hive blockchain interview was from somebody who said, oh, if you don't hold it, you don't own it, referring to cryptos as being illusory. And I said, well, no, actually, I hold my Bitcoin in my own personal wallet. So if you want to buy it on Coinbase, you can then send it to your own wallet and hold it essentially in your own hands. So that point needs to be
right here,
made.
Baby. Right here.
Yeah. Don't show them that private key, though.
No, that's why I did it. I've done it many times. That's one salt token right there. This is in my own possession. One salt token in my own possession.
Now, the other thing about those Bitcoin futures is that they're cash settled. They're not dealing with the physical. And the other thing that I think is so amusing about it is that it's what the CME, the CBOE, the CME, the Wall Street in general is only open, what, 8 hours, 7 hours a day? I mean, Bitcoin.
Cliff said that's going to be a big deal.
Well, it is a big deal because Bitcoin is a 24/7, 365 real market with global interest and precious little supply. And, Trace Meyer made the point in that interview with Crush the Street. If these guys are going to try to naked short Bitcoin, the whole world's going to see it, and there's going to be big trouble brewing. My words, not his. He said it more eloquently. Okay, so we're going to round out the conversation with the devil's advocate position from Catherine Austin Fitts. It's an interview she just did with Greg Hunter. It's 2.5 minutes long here, this clip. We don't have to listen to the whole thing. I'll try to find a good out, but of course, when I first listened to it, I marked the full 2.5 minutes. So here's her thoughts on Bitcoin and cryptos being a government op. Listen to this, Bix.
So I did a really serious due diligence on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies this year, and it produced a wonderful Solera report, which I really recommend to you, Greg, called the Bitcoin the Op. People are arguing, is it a bubble or not? My attitude is, look, it's an op, and it's a big one. And one of the things that really frustrated
explain that
me,
to people. It's an op. It's an operation. It's a government. It's a psyop. It's an operation by the government.
Right. So remember, we're talking, if you look at the deep state, we're talking about a group of people who can basically manipulate the bond market, the stock market, the derivative markets, the currency markets, which are huge trillion-dollar markets.
And they are doing it.
And the cryptocurrency market is tiny, and ownership is very consolidated. It's very concentrated. So if there's any market in the world that's easy to manipulate, it's cryptocurrencies compared to what they're manipulating in size every day in fixed income. This is nothing. Here's the reality. If I'm Mr. Global, I want a digital currency, and I want to be able to do it economically on scale in a very big way. Now, that means a lot of technology has to get worked out, and the train tracks and payment systems have to get worked out. It's very complicated. It's very hard. It is much cheaper to run the price of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin up and get every software developer in the world figuring out how to do that, as opposed to hiring them all and paying them to do it.
Oh, there you go. Well, either that was a quick 2.5 minutes or I timed it wrong. Maybe it was only 90 seconds, but that was eloquently said. And I guess just to back her up before I turn it over to you, I know that PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, or Thiel, however you say his name, is an early investor, seed money investor for a whole lot of the cryptos out there, and it does make one wonder. He's certainly well connected. Your thoughts? Could this whole thing be a government op to fulfill the promise of that 1988 Economist cover?
I think absolutely it is. I think absolutely, but that's the question: is it a government? Is government doing it to enslave us or to free us? That's where we get to the good guys and the bad guys in government. Who is in charge now? Is it the good guys or the bad guys? I contend it is the good guys now, and I believe that Bitcoin is the good guys' solution to a problem that could not be fixed by itself, and that is the banksters took over the monetary system in 1913. When they created the Federal Reserve. And we have been under that control, and we haven't had a way out. That's the biggest problem. There was no way out without killing millions of people. But now there's a way out, and there's people within the government absolutely involved in protecting Bitcoin and helping it grow and helping it. Even Catherine was saying they want to get all the programmers to set up all the systems. So both sides want the same thing. The good guys and the bad guys want a crypto world, and that's where we're headed. Now, the bad guys would try to shut everything down at some point, and so that they control it. Again, you can't control something that is so decentralized. So is it the question is not whether or not the government's involved, because they're obviously allowing it to happen in the U.S. They're supporting it by not passing any rules and regulations really about it. But the question is, do they want this system to be good for humanity or bad for humanity? And I believe it is being controlled by the good guys. And I've proven there's good guys, and at least to people who follow my research within the Federal Reserve. And remember, all the crypto stuff from the Fed is being done out of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, the same place that published the Road to Ruta comics. And it's absolutely, it is their way out of a system that was really bad for the United States and bad for humanity. and this is going to be good for the world, not just the United States. So yeah, I believe that there are good guys in the deep state helping Bitcoin and protecting Bitcoin. So yeah, that's the ultimate crux is, do you believe that they're doing it to cause evil or to assist us in getting out of the old system?
Well, I told you guys this was going to be an honest and interesting conversation about all of this stuff because, Bix, I tell you what, I leave it only to you I play that Catherine Austin Fitts soundbite. She says it's a government op, and you say, yeah, but that's a good thing. We can't get to the core of what's really going on here, but we're certainly going to keep trying. We're going to keep covering this story, watching the cryptos, because, guys, whether you like them, hate them, think they're part of the beast system, or if you think they're going to free humanity, some of them, many of them, are here to stay. And I guess I'd say this, so is silver and gold in physical form. In my mind, if you want to buy physical silver or gold and have it delivered to you, I'd say click on the banner at the top of SGT Report and visit our good friends at SD Bullion. They do a great job. Really love those guys. I've talked to them before. I know them personally, so you can trust them. SDBullion.com. And if you want to get the inside skinny on all the things Bix is thinking about, head over to roadtoruta.com. And what would they do? Become members? Subscribe? What do they do over there, Bix?
There's a free email service that I send out information and videos and things like that. And then if you want to get more in depth, there's a subscriber service where it breaks down which cryptos are good, which are bad, things that I'm working on in the behind the scenes. And you get a free salt token and a free silver coin, Road to Ruta coin, for signing up. So yeah, check it out.
Well, Bix, you know what? I love your hat. It is a celebratory time for those of us who are in the crypto space, and we'll see how long it lasts. I don't know. They're calling it the new tulip mania is all I see now in the propaganda media.
It's like the Carpenters. We've only just begun. Absolutely, you've only just begun with cryptos. When your taxi driver is saying, hey, I don't take US dollars, I only take his taxi coins, then you know we're almost getting close to a bubble. But that isn't going to happen for another 5 years. So just you're early if you're getting into cryptos now.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, guys. You heard a lot of things here, and what we're trying to do is cut to the truth of the matter and ask everybody to break their conditioning and open your minds. There's more to the story here than just it's the beast system. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I firmly believe there's more to the story than just painting with that wide brush. So thanks so much for tuning in. Do visit roadtoruta.com and check out what Bix has going on over there, and do please visit us at sgtreport.com. thelibertymill.com, and thephaser.com. Real news 24/7. Thanks so much for listening. Be good to one another. God bless.